Hello and welcome to another episode of ohmTown's Daily News Show. I'm Mayor Watt. That's my site. What is ohmTown? It's a social network and news aggregator. Hundreds of thousands of article headlines from around the internet, aggregated into 6 main categories: create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology. I'm trying to go through this quick so we can get right into the news. That's why you're here. Probably not here to hang out with me and have me rattle on about my day. Unless you are, then you can tell me in chat. But I exist also on Twitter. I got the podcast going for ohmTown. The website exists. And I'm here. And I want to expand. So please follow if you are watching this and you're in chat. If you haven't already, that would be great. If you have, tell a friend. Let me know this is, I don't know, doing it for you. If this is pretty cool, then awesome, let me know. Again, I'm not running around into other people's chats, and I'm not advertising in any way. I just talk about it here on the stream. But I'd love to have some more interaction. It is only for an hour right now. I really do plan on expanding it. I've been doing this is the 80th episode. I started at the beginning of the year, and making the site better, making the stream better. I don't know. Let me know how it's going. Anyway, let's get into the news. The very first article is in the order of the bean, and it's scientists are using coffee to detect brain activity. What do you think of that? Electrodes dipped in porous carbon from coffee have successfully detected brain activity. Let's click that link and take us over to sprudge.com. They're putting an entire coffee bean inside an MRI. MRI machines are pretty awesome pieces of technology. Pretty expensive gadgets, and yeah, it's not nice when they're when they fail. So, and you can't bring any batteries in there. You can't bring anything metal in there. You gotta shield it really well. And it's not good when somebody messes up. Well, anyway, it says here, led by principal investigator Ashley Ross, PhD of the University of Cincinnati, the group's finding will be presented at the spring meeting of the American Chemical Society. Dr. Ross was inspired to give this new use of old coffee a try after reading studies on it being used for carbon porous supercapacitors. Quote, I saw papers about using spent grounds to produce porous carbon for energy storage, and I thought maybe we could use this conductive material in our neurochemistry detection work. After drying, the coffee grounds would get heated at an incredibly high temperature, 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, that's upwards of the melting temperature for projects that I do with enamel and stuff like that. You can get up to 1400, 1500 degrees. But 1300 degrees is pretty darn hot. And then before adding it to a potassium hydroxide solution that activates the carbon and creates the porous structure needed. Pretty neat. Now you know what to do with your coffee grounds. Apparently you can just put them on your head and you will detect brain activity. Not here though, not here. There's no brain, no pain. This article is over at sprudge.com, and it's written by Zach Cadwallader. I think I'm pronouncing their name properly. So let's continue on. This next article is over in Mobile. Researchers use unique ingredient to strengthen bamboo. UBC Okanagan researchers have adapted a technique originally designed to embalm human remains to strengthen the properties of biocomposites and make them stronger. Please don't have a body. Let's see. I don't want to have to strap a body to my bamboo. So this article's over at phys.org. University of British Columbia is the author. And it says, with the innovation of new materials and green composites, it is easy to overlook materials like bamboo and other natural fibers, explains UBCO professor of mechanical engineering Dr. Abbas Milani. These fibers are now used in many applications such as clothing and the automotive industry, packaging, and construction. Found a way to strengthen the fibers of bamboo, and says bamboo has nearly the same strength as a mild steel while exhibiting more flexibility. With its low weight, cost, and abundant availability, bamboo is a material that has great promise, but until now had one big drawback. Let's see here. Its natural fibers absorb water and degrade and weaken over time due to moisture uptake and weathering. And well, we can seal that. Let's see. Plastination. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Let me scroll up here. Researchers use unique ingredient. Okay. So if you've never heard of plastination, if you do a search for it, you'll end up finding some odd pictures. Well, not odd pictures. You'd be curious about it, I'm sure. But anyway, it's basically the wood equivalent of stabilization. So if I'm using a wood and I want it to never twist and cup, I would stabilize it, which basically means I take a piece of wood and I put it inside this liquid. I put it under a vacuum and it pulls the liquid into it. Then I put it in an oven and I heat it up, and it literally hardens it takes all of the air out, and fills it with this liquid. And then that resin, it becomes a resin, hardens, and then you've got a stabilized piece of wood that won't twist, cup, shatter, things like that. And it becomes plastic, and that's what plastination is. So here it says it's used for long-term preservation of animal, human, and fungal remains. I always say fungal. So it says plastinated bamboo composite was mixed with glass and polymer fibers to create a material that is lighter and yet more durable than comparable composites. So I do it with various woods, but I've never done it with bamboo. So I might try it with the material that I use to see if I can stabilize bamboo. I just never have. There's a lot of air inside bamboo. So I'll give it a try and see what happens. Maybe this weekend. It depends on how busy I am. But now you know what plastination is, and now you know that it's used to stabilize bamboo. I wouldn't say that it's a revolutionary concept. It's just one that, I don't know, I'm sure somebody has done it, particularly in the woodworking space, because it's used regularly. The stuff that I use is called cactus juice, as a matter of fact, and it's used all over the world all the time. Interesting. Anyway, let's continue on with the news. This next article is in the Daily News Show. That's this show. And it's how to toilet train your cat. Are you tired of an overflowing litter box? Charles Mingus has a pamphlet for that. Let's click this link. Never thought that I'd see this on the New York Times, but then again, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't anticipate a lot of stuff, and suddenly it's there. So this has a bunch of cats basically standing around a bathroom. And they have cat toys, and it looks like they're trying to teach the cat how to go to the bathroom. So this is a New York Times article. It's written by Brent Katz, which is not unseen. It does not go unnoticed there, Brent Katz, writing about cats. Har har. Anyway, so it took Mingus 3 or 4 weeks to toilet train Nightlife. His method, in a nutshell, was to fill a shallow cardboard box with torn up newspapers instead of litter, which can clog the pipes. He placed the box far from the bathroom to start, then began inching it closer and closer. Do it gradually. You've got to get him thinking. Step 2 was to start trimming down the brim of the box as he moved it. It's basically kiting a cat into the bathroom. And then, let's see, Mingus then slipped the remaining cardboard under the toilet seat. Eventually, with a magician's flair, he disposed of it completely so that the cat just thought he was going to the toilet. Don't be surprised if you hear the toilet flush in the middle of the night. A cat can learn how to do it, spurred on by his instincts to cover up. No, I have Savannah cats. They would probably splash around in there more than flush. I'm not going to give this one a try. I mean, it would be amazing because cat boxes are just, I mean, they're natural things for cats, but I do not like cat boxes. At any rate, and it doesn't help being allergic to them, but I love cats. They're awesome. So go over to the New York Times and read this article about how to toilet train your cat. I got to keep going. The next article is Greenhouse Study Confirms Flood Tolerant Varieties of Soy. I almost misspoke and said societies of voy, flipping those two letters around. If you've ever looked at food labels in your local grocery store, you've probably seen soy listed as an ingredient. Even though soy is widespread in our foods, that doesn't make the production of soy any easier for growers. One challenge facing soy growers is flooding. This is an article in phys.org written by Raleigh Darnell, and I believe it's still pronounced Raleigh, even as a name, not Raleigh, and Susan V. Fisk, American Society of Agronomy. Neat. So flooding is a major cause of crop loss worldwide as weather patterns change. Experts expect severe weather events like flooding to occur more often. Luckily, the growers aren't alone in facing this challenge. A recent study published in Crop Science found some answers which may be helpful to soy growers on land that is flood prone. Let's see, they conducted studies in greenhouses, which previous studies have shown to be reliable in breeding studies. This team was testing the reliability and consistency of screening germplasm in hydroponic systems in the greenhouse. The end goal was to determine how different varieties of soy react to flood conditions. Interesting. So they basically found a variety of soy, that was resistant to flooding, but they did it within a greenhouse to detect which varietal would not be stressed out by the flood. Pretty neat. That's how you do it. That right there is fundamental research, boys and girls. This is how you get stuff done. And depending on what else they do to this, they could probably develop something that would allow soy to be grown in great numbers in hydroponic systems. It says the greenhouse hydroponic system showed reliability, efficiency, and promise as a method for selecting soy based on flood tolerance. When compared to similar field trials, the greenhouse hydroponic system outperformed field trials. And this is really what I think the future of agriculture really is going to end up having to be. Hydroponic systems, it's a closed loop. You have the ability to even recover the water for a greater period of time. It isn't lost. While natural processes out in fields and whatnot are suitable for many crops, There are also many crops that you can go entirely vertical in. I mean, there are people that are doing strawberries. I do various lettuces, um, and microgreens in general. You can do this in your basement and feed your family microgreens all the time and never have to go to the store. And all you do really is plant a couple of what amounts to 8 by 10 sheets of paper worth of planters. You do like 12 of them, 16 of them, and you have salad forever. Not to mention other things that you can do, sunflower seeds and whatnot. Make really wonderful solutions. In this case, growing soy in a controlled environment means that you can mitigate all kinds of damage that happens in the natural surroundings, including flooding, because you have a system that is flood tolerant and controlled. Yeah, but you need a lot of soy beans to make soy products. So you'd have to look into the economics of this. I'm sure others have already done it, so you can look around for it. Let's continue on with the news. The next article is in Reality Hacker. Qualcomm and Square Enix partner to create AR games. And it says here, Qualcomm and Square Enix today announced a partnership that will see the creation of XR experiences by Square Enix, which includes the Japanese company's subsidiary studios and intellectual property. Announced at the annual Game Developers Conference 2022 in San Francisco today, the partnership is said to involve Square Enix's Advanced Technology Division, which will be working with the chipmaker to create content for AR glasses. I want AR glasses, but I want them for more than just games. I want to do data retrieval. I want to be able to have cards about things and people and places and whatever I'm looking at, really. But people freak out about that information about people. I mean, it really should amount to, well, if you can look somebody up on social media, what's really the problem here? Heck, some people would probably benefit from that type of interaction. You walk around, you see them, and then you can subscribe to their Twitch channel. Some people want to hide them. You know, I mean, if you're a VTuber and you don't actually expose yourself to the public, your presence, it would just link to nothing, right? You don't have a presence, so it wouldn't link to anything. And if everybody would respect privacy settings, it wouldn't link to anything, even if you are public on a social network. I don't know, there's got to be a solution. But people will probably abuse it, because that's why you can't have nice things, because people abuse things. Anyway, this is over at roadtovr.com, and it's written by Scott Hayden. Qualcomm and Square Enix partner to create AR games. Go over and read the rest of this article, because I basically just said a summary of it. I am hoping that Apple launches AR glasses that are somewhat stylish, somewhat, because it's going to be hard to put microelectronics in anything without them being somewhat bulky, particularly on the ears side of things, you know, the little, I don't know, the arms on your glasses. But go over to Road to VR and read this article. I'm going to keep on going with the news. This next article is a deep dive. The best performing sector of the S&P 500 is still the cheapest, while technology stocks look overvalued. Energy stocks still appear to be bargains despite their 2022 run-up. There's the link. And this will take us over to Marketwatch. This is a article where the title hasn't changed, which is great. It's written by Philip Van Dorn, and again, the title of it is "The Best Performing Sector of the S&P 500 is Still the Cheapest, While Technology Stocks Look Overvalued." in their energy stocks. And it's kind of a mixed bag of the reference symbols, with Amazon being up 0.15% at the time of this article's publication, and Netflix down 1.58%. Google's down 0.24%. They usually have a table, and again, they do. It says current valuations and 5-year averages. So let's see. Communication services, consumer discretionary, consumer staples, energy, etc. And S&P 500 index is at 19.44. And that's price to earning ratio. Let's see here. Materials, communication services, current valuation to 5-year average. The current valuation to S&P 500. So consumer discretionary is at 148%. Energy is at 60. So depending on your level of risk, you might want to invest in energy because based on the valuation pegged to the S&P 500, it's at 60%. So it's underperforming to the S&P 500. So only communication services and material sector trade at forward P/E ratios that are below their 5-year averages. It's important to note that the communication sector went through a major transformation in 2018 with the addition of several large tech-oriented companies, including Facebook, now Meta Platforms Incorporated. But it still operates as FB, which declined 2.31%. Wow, a lot of big tech companies. So despite the energy sector's 32% gain this year, the sector trades for only 60% of the S&P 500's valuation. But that's by no means, depending, you would have to look at, it says 5 years average forward, and current valuation to 5-year average is at 103. So I don't know. Really, pardon me. It's really about your risk aversion if you want to make a judgment call based on the overall S&P 500 index. And if energy alone. So you can go and pick out some stocks. I always tell people, if you're going to do something in stocks, invest in something that gives dividends and then leave it alone. You know, get that dividend and then reinvest it in there and let it sit. If they're delivering dividends, they're pretty rock solid in their belief that they're sustainable. That's my holistic take on anybody doing dividends. If not, then you'll have to go and look at the stock and its performance. There's a lot of stuff where it can negatively impact something that you think is operating just fine. Bad marketing, for instance. This next article, though, is in Reality Hacker, and it says Qualcomm launches $100 million fund to help build the Metaverse. So Qualcomm, the company known for its mobile Snapdragon processors for smartphones and XR headsets, XR is VR and AR, announced a new Metaverse fund. The chipmaker said the new fund will be a launchpad for XR developers and companies working to build the Metaverse at GDC 2022. They launched its Snapdragon Metaverse Fund. That's kind of one of the reasons why I have a problem with Meta existing. It basically clamped onto this Metaverse concept. And now whenever you think Metaverse, you think the company Meta. And I don't know. I have a different take on my perception of Meta, Facebook in general, and its whole thing is a deeper dive conversation. So let's see here. Let's go over to this article. The article is over in Road to VR, written by Scott Hayden. It's more into the GDC 2022 article array over at Road to VR. They focus on virtual reality, augmented reality, anything with XR concepts. And that's why it's in Reality Hacker, because Reality Hacker is all about manipulating reality using computer graphics or technology in some way. And its whole motto is you won't know who to trust. So you can go over to Road to VR and do a search or follow that link and it'll take you over there. The next article is in the Law Nerd channel. And like I've said in other episodes, I hope to bring all of these channels to Twitch. I want to just do hour after hour of unique show every day for 8 hours. But I can't just do it alone. I really do need more people, and I don't know, after 80 days of this, I would love to hear from people. You know, the people that I do hear from are saying that this is cool, but I'd love to hear more. So let me know one way or another. You can let me know in chat, or you can send me a message on Twitter or on the website. Feel free to get in touch. Well, this article over in the Law Nerd channel is maybe serving as payment agent for sovereign debt is another business that cities should get out of, at least when it comes to rogue states and uniquely recalcitrant debtors. Let's click this link. It goes over to dealbreaker.com. And of course, it's about, it's an article written by John Shazar. And it says, you guys, we're not sure if you realize this, but Vladimir Putin is pissed. So now everyone knows that financial reserves can simply be stolen, Mr. Putin said. He called the freezing of Russia's central bank assets illegitimate and warned it would lead countries around the world to store their reserves in tangible assets such as gold, land, and raw materials instead of financial assets. I don't necessarily disagree, but I also think that they just won't do it in a country that is, I don't know, invading another country. And this happens with any financial asset or any asset. If you're in possession of something and it's going to be impacted by some other action, normally all us regular Joes find out after the action happens, and suddenly we have to start selling stocks or getting that land sold because a train is going to roll through. Actually, that's actually a good thing back in history, if a train was coming by. But let's say you buy land and suddenly it's declared a Superfund site. Well, yeah, you know, its value is going to go plummeting down the drain. But in this particular case, you got somebody who's invading another country without any historical context to it, beyond, we used to be interacting with this country, let's go invade it. And very scant verifiable evidence of something that they're claiming is going on in the Donbas region. I just don't. Anyway, so it says this is not great for Citigroup, which once again finds itself caught in between an unhinged world leader and the people they owe money. Yeah, well, Putin wants to nationalize any asset that's in country if they exit. So there's a lot of companies that are going, we're going to stay in Russia, at least until they can get their stuff out. We'll see. Putin also took time out of his latest grievance airing and dissident threatening to shower praise on those multinationals that have yet to pull out of Russia without naming them. Yeah. Nestle's still there. Unilever's still there. And this is them saying it. Yeah. So, at any rate, go over to dealbreaker.com, read this article. Maybe serving as payment agent for sovereign debt is another business city should get out of. Well, you are never going to stop the people that run companies from seeking greater wealth. And it's because they get bigger, they require more diversity to accrue that wealth and dole it out to the various stakeholders. You will always get growth demand, which means they have to do pretty much anything as long as the risk reward scenario is in their favor or worth their time and effort and money. This next article is in the Law Nerd channel. Columbia Law School embroiled in short sales kerfluffle. A good old-fashioned tenure fight. This first appeared in Above the Law, but I am linking to Above the Law. So when you click this link, you'll get taken over there. Professor Joshua Mitz wrote a paper in 2018 on the impact of pardon me 1 second. I drank something right before my stream, and it's making my cough. It's making my throat itch, and I'm coughing. So I really apologize. And no, I'm not even going to cut this out of the podcast or anything. I'm very transparent about my streams. Professor Joshua Mitz wrote a paper in 2018 on the impact an investor website has on depressing stock prices. This article is written by Joe Patrice. Columbia Law School embroiled in short sales kerfuffle. So back to the article. Carson Block, an investor specializing in shorts, has had records subpoenaed by the DOJ as part of an ongoing investigation into short sellers and illegal trading tactics based in part on the work Mitz has done. I wonder if they're going to mention Elon Musk, because this has popped up before where someone has simply posted something online, seemingly innocuous commentary, and it impacts a stock. And usually that is verboten. You can't, if you're going to benefit from it or not, whatever it might be, if you say something about a stock, particularly when you're coming from a position of authority, it's typically frowned upon. But if it rises to a legal issue, that might be another thing. But CEOs shouldn't be posting anything. It's unclear how any of this would help Block's cause. If Mitz loses out on tenure because of Block's lobbying, that's not going to do much to discredit the underlying work. So let's see. Let's see here. It says, and now Block's taken his objection to the investigation right to Columbia's doorstep, per the Wall Street Journal. Mr. Mitz is up for tenure next month, and Mr. Block appears bent on ensuring he doesn't get it. In addition to the formal request to Columbia, Mr. Block sent an email last month to John Coffey, a chaired professor who has taught at Columbia Law School since 1980. He called Mr. Mitz's research outright deceptive and misleading and attacked his work for companies that have been targeted by short sellers. Quote, you have been bamboozled into assisting him in his campaign that serves his client's interests, Mr. Block wrote in the email. Interesting. Well, I mean, research is research. I guess you can look into it and see if there is an actual problem with the integrity of the data. But if it is valid work and a valid observation, there's no wrongdoing here. It's scientific evidence, regardless of its impact. It is the truth as it stands. Now, given 5 more years, society might change and they're not impacted or swayed by somebody posting some random bit of information on a website. I find that highly unlikely to take place, but our law, our actions, everything is living and dynamic. So very few people can take advantage of some random comment impacting the performance of a stock. So this next article is in the Mobile Channel. Visible ocean plastics, just the tip of the iceberg. Yep. While the billions of tons of plastic products produced in the plastic age, quote unquote, of the last half century have drastically changed the way we live for the better, the plastic waste has made it into the environment, is now posing new challenges for nature. When you click this link, you'll get taken over to phys.org, and this is a little bit older of an article. Today's the 21st. It was actually originally published on the 18th, and has a picture of a beach that just has a ton of plastic bottles and glass. It looks like glass bottles, but maybe they're just brown plastic bottles. At any rate, it says, seeking to simulate the fate of plastics that have made it into our society or our oceans, a new study led by Kyushu University estimates that 25.3 million metric tons of plastic waste have entered our oceans, and nearly 2/3 of that cannot be monitored. Even more alarmingly, the analysis suggests that this may only be the tip of the plastic waste iceberg, with another 540 million metric tons of mismanaged plastic waste, nearly 10% of all plastic produced so far, still trapped on land. Yeah, you're going to have to go over and read the rest of this article. They have some graphics. Looks like a timeline of plastic, maybe fragmentation, transport, and breakdown of ocean plastics in the year 1976 in parts of the North and South America. Yeah, it looks like there's quite a bit out there in the ocean. But go over to phys.org and do a search for visible ocean plastics, just the tip of the iceberg, or you can follow the link, of course. So this next article is in Prime Glass. Prime Glass is a channel that's supposed to talk about photography and technology, technique, photos themselves, people, places, things around photography. Licensing contributor Christina Shavretskaya on capturing food photography. There's a lot of neat tricks in food photography, like milk is sometimes Elmer's glue or something else, because milk kind of turns a weird color, apparently. I'm not sure if that has maintained itself over the years, but that was some trick that was shown a long time ago. Not really a trick, a technique. Anyway, the photographer is a Minsk-based still life photographer whose creative and stylized approach captures the vibrant colors and rich textures of different flowers, food, and drinks, creating a stunning licensing portfolio reminiscent of classic still life paintings. We'll click the link and take you over to 500 pics. Naturally, the photography is going to be pretty stunning. In this case, it looks like it's a cranberry tea kind of a thing, kettle, but it's all glass. And the lid is suspended up in the air with some cranberries. I think it's cranberries. Kind of hovering in the air with some steam coming out. I don't know if that's manipulated in any way. I don't know how they did it. I know when I was younger, we did stuff like this using ultra thin line. And you didn't even see it in the photographs. We didn't have to manipulate anything. You just didn't see it. But I don't know how this one was created. Anyway, this article is over at 500pics or 500px.com. It's the number 500, by the way. And it's published by Logan Bales. It was actually done 5 days ago. But this is a slow aggregation for ohmTown. It doesn't grab from them very often. And it says here, can you tell us a bit about your journey as a photographer and what inspired you to pick up a camera? And then they go on to talk about this. And they have some really kind of in-action photography. It isn't really still life. There's a lot of kinetic energy in their photographs. So this is like a dusting of these chocolate balls. And all of their work looks like it's in motion. So it's pretty neat. But I'm not going to go through every single thing. I want you to go over to 500px.com, 500pix.com, and check it out. Then you can come back and talk to me about this kind of stuff. This next article is in the Mobile channel. Study investigates behavior of the Black Widow millisecond pulsar. And it is pulsar PSR J0610-2100. Astronomers have performed a comprehensive study of a peculiar, quote-unquote, Black Widow millisecond pulsar known as PSR J0610-2100. Results of the research published March 11th on the arXiv preprint repository deliver essential information regarding the behavior and properties of this source. So if you follow the link from ohmTown, you'll go over to phys.org. It's an article by Thomas Nowakowski for phys.org. And it has a graphic of the orbital phase, optical light curve, and Icarus model of the companion star of PSR J0610-2100. The most rapidly rotating pulsars, those with rotation periods below 30 milliseconds, are known as millisecond pulsars, MSPs. Researchers assume that they are formed in binary systems when the initially more massive component turns into a neutron star that is then spun up due to accretion of matter from the secondary star. Interesting. So it acts kind of like a gear because of its matter, it spins up a massive star that turns into a neutron star. A class of extreme binary pulsars with semi-degenerate companion stars is dubbed spider pulsars. Wow, these are really neat. As extremely low mass, while they are called redbacks if the secondary star is heavier. So they have all kinds of names assigned to the type. Spider pulsars, Black Widow is one type. Redback is another type. Pretty neat. A team of astronomers led by Emma van der Vateren of the Astron Netherlands Institute for Radio Astronomy in Dwingelo, I might be pronouncing that one wrong because it's from the Netherlands, decided to conduct radio observations of PSR J0610 with several radio telescopes and optical observations of the companion using the European Southern Observatory, hoping to get more insights into the nature of this source. Cool. I love this kind of stuff. My limit, there's a certain limit to my understanding of everything. It's usually in the deeper level of the math, and not really the theory of it. I understand, but the application of the math kind of goes beyond me. But if you are interested in seeing even some discussion about pulsars and a little bit more understanding of the universe, go over there and check it out at phys.org. Of course, again, you can follow the link. This next article is over in the Warcrafter channel. It says Apple's M1 Ultra absolutely dwarfs your CPU. So this is an article from PCGamer.com, but it references Max Tech, who dropped over $17,000 buying up 3 different versions of the Mac Studio, as well as some screens in order to do a teardown. And they're glad that they did it because it's certainly an interesting beast to rip apart. So let's click this link. Again, this is PCGamer.com. It's an article written by Alan Dexter. And it says, remember, it's what you do with it that counts. And they have a picture from Max Tech on PCGamer.com and shows the difference between a Ryzen chip and the Ultra. And it's just a beast. I mean, this is like old school Intel Pentium type, those big chunky Pentium style processors, yet it's still dramatically smaller than that. But the ratio between a modern chip and the Pentium is pretty apparent. Just move forward 30 years and this is what you get. Something that just destroys the competition. From GPU to CPU functionality, it's apparently kind of beating the pants off of everybody. Dropping 17 grand though, it takes some time. I won't be doing it anytime soon for a PC, at least not with my money. While it isn't the most technical teardown you'll ever see, there are still plenty of interesting tidbits in there, including confirming that the Mac Studios SSD appears to use a slightly different interface to previous models. This happened before. I think it was 2018's or maybe 2015's MacBook Pro used a different interface for its SSD, so you couldn't just swap it out. It wasn't that easy. For the M.2. Pardon me one second. But there is a video that goes along with this article, and I won't play the article in the podcast or in the stream. That's for you as a viewer to go over and check out at PC Gamer. Again, you can just do a search for Apple's M1 Ultra. Absolutely dwarfs your CPU. But it's actually an article that's kind of discussing Mac's tech. And if you've never seen that, then you can go to YouTube and just do a search for Mac's tech, and it'll probably be one of the more popular videos that they've got. The next article is in Warcrafters. It says, let's hope the sub MSRP it's the manufacturer suggested retail price GPUs in Germany are a sign of things to come. What a strange day it is to see a graphics card selling for less than MSRP. As of yesterday, the AMD Radeon RX 6500 XT could be found at a German retailer, Mind Factory's online store, for 169 euro, and that's about 35% less than the recommended retail price. I won't even go and click that link because I don't want to be disappointed. I want to still believe that it exists at a lower than retail price. But I'll click the link and take us over to PC Gamer. But before I actually go back to that site, I'll have to post the URL in the chat. So, a graphics card for less than MSRP? What's going on? Writes Katie Wickens over at PC Gamer about maybe a GPU that's below retail price. Manufacturer suggested retail price. What's off about the whole thing is that Tom's Hardware noted the discounted price only showed up after some cookie-based shenanigans revealed it, which leads us to a minor warning about purchasing GPUs online. We'll get to that in a moment. Interesting. So in the US and UK, the recommended retail price for the RX 6500 XT is around $199. Sadly, it doesn't appear on the US on the same wavelength as forward-thinking Europeans in terms of GPU prices. As a quick check of Newegg and B&H Photo revealed. Yeah, I'll have to go and take a look. I need another GPU. I'm actually rocking an Asus 1080, but I'm not streaming games, and but I really want an RTX. Anyway, what the prices in Germany and UK might point toward, however, is the start of a downward trend in GPU prices. Highly doubt it. We've still got 2022 pegged as the year GPU prices come down relative normality. I don't agree. I think that production, inflation, constrained manufacturing, not only because of COVID, but because people are going and buying everything immediately and then reselling it. There's a lot of cash floating around, and a lot of people who have that cash or are willing to take the risk to put, $10,000 on a credit card for nothing but graphics cards and then sell them for twice the price. And 10,000 nowadays isn't that much. So I'm just throwing that number out there. But people are paying, with their kidney to get a RTX GPU. Anyway, you can go over to PC Gamer and read the rest of this article. I do not see GPU prices dropping in 2022. I hope the economy proves me wrong. I hope the tech sector proves me wrong. I hope Nvidia and AMD prove me wrong by upping their manufacturing and not upping their prices. Knowing that people are willing to pay an arm and a leg means that they can price it higher and get more of the action. And if I haven't said it in pretty much 79 of my episodes, if you are in my chat, please follow me. I want to see that follower goal tick up to 100%. And I would love to have it done by the end of the month. We're like 10 days out from it, and I would love to see it go up. I don't normally even, kind of push that, but I would love to reach a follower goal. So this next article is in the Warcrafters channel. It's because it was found by that source, PC Gamer, and that's why it's in the Warcrafters channel. But it says, the title is, "No, seriously, Internet Explorer really is being retired on June 15th. Warns Microsoft." I don't know about us being warned about Internet Explorer. As I joke with people, Internet Explorer's sole job is to download Firefox or Chrome. The same will extend to Edge, which is replacing Internet Explorer, which really is, to me, Internet Explorer. Edge and Internet Explorer might as well be the exact same beast to me. Am I biased? Yeah, maybe. Not maybe. I am. I'm very well aware of it. And if you don't want or can't use any other browser, I'm sorry. But you're going to end up using Edge here on June 15th, 2022. At least it's no longer going to be developed by Microsoft. But let's click this link. Take you over to PC Gamer. Jacob Ridley is the author of this. It says, "Your NAN's internet button is going away to be replaced by Edge." That's one of the lines in this article. "It's time to wave goodbye to Internet Explorer," says Jacob. "No, for real this time. Those other send-offs were just preliminary. Okay, yes, Internet Explorer's demise has been a long time coming, and we've seen IE is destined for the great recycle bin in the sky since last year." Well, you might as well just get used to the idea that Internet Explorer and Edge are pretty much the same. I don't think anything fundamentally is different. I mean, it is in its code base and all of that, but it's still a Microsoft browser. It'll function 100% for Microsoft-centric products, but if you need it for something else, it has its own feature set that can sometimes conflict, and you never know when it will conflict. Now, I had people complaining to me that there were certain dead links on a site that they are required to interact with, and that I am semi in charge of, quasi in charge of, and so I started getting complaints, only to troubleshoot it down to them using a browser, and that browser was Internet Explorer and Edge. Citizen planning to trial on-demand private security in Chicago. This is in the Mobile channel. Crime awareness app Citizen has been planning to trial a version of its product in Chicago, which would give customers access to on-demand private security force in partnership with security services giant Securitas. And this is an article over at vice.com, which has a section or a major component. I'm not quite sure what the relationship is. I never really looked into it, but Motherboard is part of Vice. Click the link, I'll take you over there. It says Tech by Vice, but it's called Motherboard, and everybody really pretty much refers to it as Motherboard, but it's on vice.com, so again, I blather on about this being a Vice article, but it's written by Joseph Cox, and it says, the move shows that Citizen hasn't given up on the idea of on-demand private security. So this is very dystopian, very cyberpunkish. Crime awareness app Citizen has been planning to trial a version of its product in Chicago. The news follows Motherboard's revelation in May last year that Citizen tested a similar service with 2 different private security firms in Los Angeles, according to leaked emails, and now they're going to do it in Chicago. Quote, it's a slippery slope to private policing, one of the sources said. Motherboard granted multiple sources in this article anonymity as they weren't permitted to speak to the press. Yeah. I don't know. In some cases, I would go back to my statement about abuse happens in the dark. This is about people's privacy in the security space. I don't think that there should be what amounts to, I can't agree with it, but sometimes you can't rely on the police to protect somebody, because if you are famous or you have wealth, there are sometimes people that find out about it and want to harm you. And so you need a private police force to protect you from that harm. You could be walking down a street and somebody who has found out that you have means could abduct you or harm you. And without a police force, you're at their whim, unless you're sitting there carrying, and not every state allows you to conceal carry. And you really don't want everybody concealed carrying. Not everybody is a responsible, rational human being with situational awareness and control. So it says Securitas declined to comment. And I'm going to let you go over to vice.com and read the rest of this, but I wanted to pique your curiosity about Citizen planning to trial on-demand private security in Chicago. This is just cyberpunk, just a 100%, turned up to 11 cyberpunk. All I have to do is push a button and I got a private security force coming to take me to the, some secret location or a meeting, or to go get donuts or something. I don't know. Pretty fascinating. Okay, we have 2 more articles. This next one is The Word in Tech. Ghostwire Tokyo is creepy, thrilling, and a game that respects your time. An eerie mix of white-knuckle action and quiet exploration. This article is written by Andrew Webster. It's over at The Verge. I won't make much out of this, but it says, at the outset of the game, nearly every person in Tokyo has vanished, leaving the metropolis overrun with yokai, folklore creatures, urban legends, and vengeful spirits. And you play as Akito. A human has to be able to survive this cataclysm and go figure out what it was that made everybody disappear. And some of the graphics that I have seen for this game are fascinating, just amazing. And so, what do you call it? It's so historically, like, the embodiment of these things just follow this Japanese mystique about all of these. They're supposed to be like like thousands of these. What would you call them? Folklore creatures, yokai. And there's one that I'm really interested in. One that I keep thinking about getting a tattoo of, which is a scarecrow, but the scarecrow is it's fixed, but the whole world passes it by and has accrued a massive amount of knowledge. And I just love the idea of that. Because you can be nowadays in one spot, you can be online and access the world's knowledge. You may not be able to experience it directly, right? Walking through the woods in Japan, you may not be able to experience it, but you can see it. You can read about it. You can read other people's perception of what's going on in that space. You can hear the sounds of it, but you may not be able to firsthand witness it. And you can still gain that wisdom, but never leave your actual location. And with AR and VR, it's only going to get more and more like that. But I'm going to continue on. We're running a little bit long again. And this next article is in the Marvel channel. Rare copy of first Marvel comic sells for $2.4 million. I thought this was a neat one to end on. Basically, this is Marvel Comics #1, published in 1939. This particular one didn't leave the publisher's control initially. Then it changed hands for a while. But the comic book, which is it's an article over at New York Times, written by Alyssa Lakpat, Lukpat. But it has notes about the payments that he owed illustrators, and it sold. Its quality is 9.2 apparently, which is fascinating. I guess it was stored somewhere. I didn't read all of the article. I read a little bit of that snippet, but it went to somebody who in his 40s who lived outside the United States, and it was auctioned for $2.4 million. You have to be one hell of a collector to really, really love Marvel Comics. But I thought it was interesting that this thing was published in 1939 for 10 cents and is now $2.4 million. And it has the little notes in it about how much he owes, how much the publisher owes the illustrators. So go over and you can read much more about it over at the New York Times. Rare copy of first Marvel comic sells for $2.4 million. Pretty cool. Awesome. Okay. But like usual, if you go over to ohmTown.com and you click on the ohmTown logo, or you get there for the first time, if you get there for the first time, you'll get the latest news. But if you're surfing around and you come back to the front page, it'll refresh and it'll give you a bunch more headlines. I've added some more sources, and we'll be getting even more as time goes on now. I think I've worked out all of the bugs, and now that I've said that, it'll probably crash tonight and I'll have to rebuild from scratch. But knock on wood. But with that in mind, I am done for the day. I will see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. Bye-bye.